Okay, we're going to take a look at Frederick's War, which is part of the Hold the Line series. And I've taken the other games out because there are some slight differences in each of the titles, and I want to mention that. But the main review will be about Frederick's War itself. Okay, now in the copy I received, I got a copy of the more scenarios in another game, really, Hold the Line Highland Charge, which is going to be all about the Scottish rebellions in 1745. So you get a booklet with those scenarios in it and a new set of counters, and we'll be taking a look at those. Now this is the booklets are quite nice, the standard shiny format that Worthington has been going with. The rules are about 16 pages long, very well illustrated with examples of play, and over half the booklet, of course, is the scenarios. So you get Mollwitz, Chetusitz, Hohenfreiberg, Kesseldorf, Kolin, Leuthen, Hochkirch, and Liegnitz. And there's a scenario which you can download off their website too, the Battle of Sewers. The terrain effects chart is on the back of the rules. You don't get a dedicated chart for the game. 3 dice. And I've sorted the markers, so we'll take a closer look at them. They're quite nice. Austrians and Prussians, of course, and Saxons. And of course you get your terrain tiles to make various map boards. And there's the British and the Scottish for the Highland Charge game. And we'll take a look at the map. Okay, for those of you who are familiar with the system, you know that you make your map from your scenarios. So you take your terrain tiles. For example, if we were making the Mollwitz scenario, we'd put these tiles on here to recreate the battlefield. You know, put your forests, your rivers, and you've got swamps and things like that. So you make your map with the terrain tiles. So the game is very versatile in the sense that you'll be able to make all kinds of different scenarios and create your own too. Okay, I don't know if you're familiar with the entire system of Hold the Line games or not, and I'm not even sure if Worthington counts Napoleon's War as part of the Hold the Line system. I do, because the systems are very, very similar. And what I kind of missed in Frederick was the elongated counters, rectangular counters that were in the original Hold the Line. So this is the original counters from Hold the Line, the Revolution game. These are British, showing you a unit with a morale of 4. And these are the Austrian counters that are in the present Frederick game, also with a morale of 4. And this is how the soldiers in the Napoleonic game would have been represented, with 4 little wee plastic figures, also showing a morale of 4. And of course, as the units took casualties, you would remove a counter, and this would show that the unit now has a morale of 3. Just like in Frederick, once a unit takes casualties, you flip him to the other side to show he's got a morale of 3. And of course, in the original game, he had a morale of 3. So, from a personal point, I was a little disappointed to move away from the elongated counters. I'm not sure why Worthington did that. Now, in retrospect, it might have been the best move, because they wanted to make each volume, I guess, look a little different than its predecessor, and I can certainly live with these counters. They are quite nice. And though you don't stack in these games, you'll not see 2 infantry counters in the same square in the Frederick the Great system. You can have an artillery with an infantry, so you can have an infantry, and they fit nicely in the hexes. The counters are quite nice. For those of you who are familiar with the Napoleonic system, you may remember that a cannon was represented, I believe, by 2 in that system. So you had 2 cannons, which meant a morale of 2. And in the Frederick the Great, you had these nifty little artillery counters. So the artillery counters and the infantry counters, all the counters in Frederick the Great look quite nice. And I'm going to show you those. I just wanted to show you the differences in the volumes over the years. I think the best ones were the originals. I really like these long counters, because we know that warfare in this period was very linear, and I think this gives the impression of linearity. But that's neither here nor there, and it's not a knock against Frederick itself. It's a good game. I really like this game. Let's take a closer look at Frederick. Okay, here are some more Austrian counters. There we have a general counter, leader counter, General Don, General Charles, and each of them have morale values which will affect the game. And you've got heavy cavalry, which has different kind of rules from light cavalry. There's your artillery, which we've seen. Oh, I don't have a light cavalry showing here. What is a light cavalry? Oh yeah, light cavalry. Similar picture, except he's on a brown horse, and the word heavy is missing. So you've got light and heavy cavalry. Now, movement in this game is, they've made slight differences in the rules for each of the volumes. And in this game, light cavalry moves 3 hexes per turn, and heavy moves 2 hexes per turn. So that's the Prussian army, or the Austrian army. Let's take a look at the Prussians. Okay, there's some Prussian units, and I must say that the color choices in this game are just terrific. They look really, really good. There's Frederick the Great himself, there's a generic leader, and there's General Zieten. That's regular Prussian infantry. This is elite infantry, and there you have Prussian artillery. The counters are really nice in this game. Now, in keeping with the modeling of Frederick's army, Frederick's army was largely an infantry army. Didn't concentrate a lot on cavalry, and these are examples of 3 light cavalry units and 2 heavy cavalry units. So there isn't a lot of units in this game, low density. You get 2 sheets, but they're functional and they look very good. And should show the Saxons off here. That's your Saxon light cavalry, and there's your Saxon infantry with their neat little wee grenadier kind of mitre caps. The counters to this game are definitely plus. They're very nice. Okay, one of the major changes they did in the Hold the Line system was the range 2 combat for infantry. Now, before me is the original Hold the Line rules. And originally, infantry firing at 2 hexes still needed only a 6 to hit, but they rolled 3 dice, making range 2 infantry very, very effective. It just was all wrong for the scale. And they altered it in the Napoleonic game, and they carried on that alteration with the Frederick game. And in Frederick, infantry at range 2 also hits only on a 6, but the big difference is that you're rolling 1 die only, not 3. This was a huge change, a huge improvement, and one I heartily agree with. Now, I've played 3 scenarios now of Frederick's War, and I really like the game. I'm an advocate of this system. The game is simple, easy to set up, and a lot of fun to play. But I'm sorry to say that being a simple game, the luck factor is quite high in this game. And you'd need a Mr. Spock or a Sheldon to work out the odds, but I don't know what the percentages are. How much of the game is luck or skill, but good luck as opposed to bad luck can completely kind of destroy one of these games. And I'm really not in favor of the infantry being able to fire at 2 hex range. It just seems just too darn powerful. I've seen cases where we had a game where you can pick off a guy at range 2, he's on his last step, he's eliminated from the board, he's got a leader. The fellow rolls a 1, roll another 1, the leader is killed. All this at 2 hex range just doesn't seem right for this scale, because each of these hexes in the battles we're fighting are certainly more than 100 yards across. So, I mean, it's neither here nor there. If you like the range 2 infantry combat, go with it. It is in the official rules. I just personally, my little nitpick of the Hold the Line system is this range 2 infantry combat. And this isn't taking a slap at the game Frederick itself. I think Frederick's a great game, and the designer, Sean Chick, had to design the game, of course, around the hold the line system. So Frederick's War is certainly part of the hold the line system, and a fine game it is. Okay, for those of you unfamiliar with the combat system, I'll give you a very, very simple example of how it works. Each turn, the Prussian and the Austrian will be rolling for a die to see how many command points they have, or action points. And depending on the scenario, you'll have a base amount of command points. So if Frederick starts with 3 command points, that means he'll be able to move 3 units, or fire with 3 units. But added to that base will be a die roll. You roll the die. A 1 or 2 means he gets 1 more action point. 3 or 4 means he gets 2. 5 or 6 means he gets 3. So in this case, we'll say that Frederick has 4 action points, which means he can move or fire with 4 units. And in this case, we'll have Frederick's army just simply close. Infantry moves 1 square, or 1 hex. So we'll have this infantry close to there, this infantry close there, and that infantry close there. That would consume 3 action points. And we'll say that off to the side, he decided to move another cavalry unit. This is light cavalry. Let's say he moved 3. Something. He'll have him close in on the flank. 1, 2, 3. And that will be the end of Frederick's move. Now, in the Austrian's turn, let's roll a die, and let's say his base command point is also 3. He rolls a 3. He also gets a 1 or 2, which means he gets 4 action points. And like Frederick, it means he can fire or move. Well, in this case, it would be much more advantageous to fire. So this unit will fire on this one. He rolls 3 dice. You always roll 3 dice, no matter what size you are. And at range 1, the infantry will need a 5 or 6. So you roll the dice, and he's got, as you can see, a 5 and a 6. So this unit will take 2 hits. So you flip it to a 3, and then you'll have to take the 3 off and replace it with a 2. So morale is down to 2. Now there's no morale check there, by the way. This is fire combat. Okay, this unit fires on that one. Oh my god. We're rolling lucky today. 3 5s. So this guy's reduced right down to a 1. Now notice he's an elite counter, so you must replace it with an elite marker, which I'll find in a second. Okay, that unit's been replaced. And we'll have this unit fire on that one. There's 3 dice, and here we only have 1 5 or 6, so, and he's reduced to a 3. So that's how fire combat works. Close combat works a little bit differently. I'll remove these units. Close combat, you have to spend 2 action points, and you have to begin the turn adjacent to an enemy. So you'd expend 2 action points, and then you'd be trying to close combat with that unit. The defender would roll a die against his morale, which is 4. He rolls the die. In this case, he gets a 4. So he's okay. His morale is okay. Had he failed his morale, at the end of the close combat, the defender would have had to retreat. And now we resolve the close combat, which in this case again is 3 dice. But in close combat, you roll a 4 through 6, and the enemy has to lose a step. Roll a die. Bad luck. No hits. So that's the end of close combat. All this to just show that the system is very basic. It's a simple system. And I've seen games where the luck factor can kind of destroy the game. But that's the nature of the hold the line system. It's probably the nature of most simple war games. Luck can sometimes get out of whack and skew a game. But I do recommend Frederick's War. I think it's a great game and very representative of the hold the line system. Okay, well I didn't mention Highland Charge because I haven't tried any of the scenarios of it, but since it's the basic hold the line system, I would think it would be very similar to the rest in the series. Overall, I have to recommend Frederick's War. It's a fine game in the series. I don't know how many more different periods the hold the line series will sustain. But it's a good introductory game for someone getting into games for the first time. They might really enjoy this series, although be wary of the luck factor. That can skew a game. I think it'd be a good tournament game, and it's a shame that the Hold the Line series is not a tournament at conventions like WBC. For some reason, the Worthington games just haven't been able to break into that field or market, and I don't know why. These are good games. Worthington certainly tries hard, and they make very good components. Like I said, the tiles, the board, the counters, they're very well done. I've never slighted Worthington for their the quality of their components. They're certainly up to par with whatever I've seen in the field. So that's Frederick's War. I do recommend it. It's a fun game, introductory. It's not the last word in games on Frederick the Great, by no means. It's a generic system, but the designer has adapted the system to Frederick, I think quite successfully, and I do recommend it. Thank you for watching.